please tell me that you guys have seen this Oculus Rift trailer for Kanye Zone.
You're talking about Kanye West?
I am.
All right, hold on. I don't see a link that Tony just pasted. He must have pasted it to just you.
Skype.
It's not in Skype.
Okay, you're right. No, wait. It should be. It's in the call window, so it should be with both of us.
Seriously, there's no look. I'm going to type in this right now.
When was the last time you updated Skype?
Oh, I don't know. Forever ago.
Jeez.
When Kanye was popular.
This is Epic Battle Cry Skirmish 238! Mortal Kombat Smoke Out!
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring you the real deal on the gaming industry today. I'm your host, Tony Grice, and with me, as always, is Daniel Kaiser and Brent Adams. Daniel, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing fantastic, TG in 3D. E3 is almost here, and I could not be more excited to be covering the event and seeing all the great... Wait, actually, everything's been announced already, so I don't know what they're going to show. But I do also know
now
this.
you can cover the event, like, what happened, what's the food like there?
Yeah, exactly.
How are things laid out?
Terrible.
Booth babes, that type of thing. But I am also extremely excited that for the very first time in 20 years, I could look you guys both in the virtual eye and say with full confidence in the actuality of the truth that the New York Rangers are in the Stanley Cup Finals, baby.
Thank God.
That is right.
Just the update we were looking for.
That is right.
Yeah, but they're going to lose now because you shaved.
I know, I did shave.
Oh,
so
no.
If they do lose...
You just sealed their fate.
I know, it kind of sucks. But I'm excited that they're there, and they will be playing against the Los Angeles Kings, East Coast, West Coast. Which one is the best coast? We're going to decide when we drop the puck. Actually, first game will be over by the time this airs, and hopefully the Rangers will already have a 1-0 series lead. So I'm excited about it, and hoping that the Rangers can bring home Lord Stanley's Cup.
Is it a 7-game series? No, I don't care. Never mind.
Yes, it's a 7-game series.
Brent, how about yourself, buddy? How you doing this week?
What's up, my skeptics of slaughter? My optimists of obliteration? How art thou?
Skeptics and optimists. And we tend to be both on this show.
We do.
We run the gamut.
We certainly do. That's a fair point, and today is going to be no exception because... as we are going to experience in a microcosm I like to call the gauntlet, and then more fully explore in the topic this week, there's a lot to be simultaneously optimistic and skeptical about.
That's pretty much life in general.
All right, well, let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet.
The gauntlet! Gauntlet!
All right, guys, we are here again, the Gauntlet, and we're going to start off, of course, with our delay updates. And this week we got one that's not too surprising, I don't think, but still maybe a little painful for some. DK, you want to tell us when we might get to play this new Batman Arkham Knight game?
Well, if you've already put down your money for a pre-order, you could unloosen that bat belt and drop your pants because you just got screwed. Batman.
In fairness, with the way the dollar is trending these days, that maybe it's not a bad thing if you put your money in for the pre-order now.
Yeah, you might actually
it is worth more than
side.
if you put it in a year from now. So.
That's true. Thanks, George Bush. Anyway, Batman Arkham Knight is going to miss its October release on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and the bat signal will not be going up into the midnight skies of Gotham until 2015. We don't know exactly when.
Which is not a good sign.
Well, I think it depends on how you look at it, right? I mean, the game was announced not too long ago, so now...
And not too long ago, they didn't know when the game was coming out.
I don't think they even know when the game's coming out. But anyway, what we do know is this. We got a new trailer kind of announcing that it's coming worldwide in 2015. That trailer also allowed us to test drive, if you will, the badassness of the Batmobile, showcasing things like its Vulcan gun to 60mm cannon, the missile barrage, the riot suppressor, all the cool crap about
that you won't be able to play until 2015. Yeah, it's a great idea for a delay announcement, isn't it?
Yeah.
It looked good though, and they did.
I'm excited for the delay now.
They left us with the promise of unleashing battle mode at E3, which we'll get to learn about in Batman Arkham Knight. So What do you guys think? I mean, a lot of the reaction was like, well, more time for Rocksteady to work on it and make it better. Not a lot of people seem to. I think it raises the ongoing conversation that we have about delays and the kind of maybe disingenuous type of actions that people take to try to secure pre-orders and then delay the game. What do you guys think about this situation, and has it impacted your enthusiasm for Batman Arkham Knight?
I think that the motherfuckers from Rocksteady should watch their back. That's what I think. I think that when you come out with the announcement and you're like, guess what? New Batman game in 6 months.
I mean, it could be a year and a half off at this point.
It could be anything. We have no fucking clue.
We have no idea if the 2015 date is going to be hit. I mean, honestly, the
same way that all those people from Rocksteady aren't going to know when they're lying in those quiet moments in bed in the dark if there's somebody under the bed, in the closet, around the corner, lurking there. They're not going to know either.
It's not Batman. It's Brentman.
I make light of this. I make light of this, but seriously, fuck you all at Rocksteady. I am so fucking angry about this. I can't even begin to tell you. You know, so because this was my game this year. I mean, this was the one fucking thing that I wanted to play this year, and because I don't know if I actually said it on the show, but I think that I might have even said on the show, this is what I'm talking about. None of this, it's coming out, 2 years from now, and then it gets delayed. It's like, you know what? We've been working on a new Batman game. It's coming out in 6 months. Boom. And I know I should be blaming myself. I mean, it's my own fault
for believing
that, when they said that we're going to release the game in October, that they were actually going to do it. As soon as they said October, I should have said bullshit. 2016 at the earliest.
To be honest with you, I felt that way when they did.
Frustrating.
When they did put out that date, I sort of thought this size of a game with this, completely new engine on new platforms.
But
but they've been working on it for a while. They didn't do the last. Yeah, they didn't do the last iteration.
They've been working on it since
franchise.
Arkham City.
No shit. So then why is it, since they've been working on it this long, why are there so many people? And this is the question I really have more than, whatever. It's pushed back to sometime 2015, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. And I'm sure the game will come out and will be awesome. So, whatever. If that's all you care about, then maybe this isn't the biggest thing in the world, except that you'll just have to wait longer.
Right.
My question, though, is, and I actually am going to pose this a little bit to DK, because I just listening to you a little bit here. No. I do have this question. The question is, why does this? It doesn't seem to bother you as much as sometimes when we get other release date changes. Like to me, this is the same thing as any release date change, where they give us a date, and then whether it's a long time later or a short term later, they come back and they say, like, actually, no, it's going to be here. But hey, here's a game trailer to sort of tide you over. It seems like there's a lot of people online that are more on this particular game, are more in that sort of like, well, hey, they're just getting the game right, and that's what's most important, so there it is. Whereas those same people will come out against some other game, and for whatever reason, maybe they don't have as much faith in the studio, maybe they don't have whatever.
I think that's
it just, to me, it is kind of uneven when people do this, and it's just like, this. Yeah, I mean, you don't get pissed, whatever. It's a fucking video game.
Pissed.
Don't lose your shit over it. Well, yeah, but I mean. You should have known better.
Well,
honestly.
No, to answer your question, I think that it is about Rocksteady. It is about Batman. It is about, there's no taking away or detracting from the fact that I hate this process, and I still despise the fact that these things get announced. I still 100% think that studios should only announce a release date when it comes out. Like, if they announce the game, don't announce a release date, and say pre-order now, are they going to lose pre-orders just because people aren't visualizing when they're going to sit down and play? I don't understand that we can do better. That's what I don't get.
You look at a game like Watch Dogs, that apparently didn't hurt it. I mean, the game, was a huge release. It got delayed significantly
twice,
and came out to huge. Yeah, and came out to huge numbers. So I guess my thing is, the same people though that are sort of, and this isn't directed at you, DK, but just this online, a lot of the same people that are saying like, well, they're going to make the game better, so that's all that's important, are also sometimes the same people that bring up the fact that they have been working on this game as long as they have. So it's just kind of like, those two things to me don't sort of add up. Like, if they have been working on this game that long, what is taking them so long? What is, they've obviously made some great games in less time, so it just sort of doesn't jive sometimes to me, why, like, oh, so you expect them to make a better game because they've got more time, but they've already had a lot of time developing the game. So I don't know, just sort of seems odd. But whatever. I mean, like I said, I don't think this in the long run is really going to hurt the game. I frankly don't think a lot of people believed it was. I think most people thought that this date was a little optimistic when it was first said, except Brent because he's an idiot. Just kidding.
It's one thing to say like fall 2014, winter 2014. It's another thing to say October 8th, 2014.
Like a very specific,
Just say fucking coming soon. Coming whatever. Like if they said coming soon, you'd be like, well, I mean, soon-ish.
The
next
only
year.
logical thing, and everyone keeps saying, because I keep asking the question, is that it's just a scheme to get pre-orders. But I don't understand how having a date attached, like the incentive is that you're going to secure a copy of the game and you might get some free crap with it or whatever if you put $5 down. I don't understand why there needs to be a date.
The only thing with the pre-order thing I can imagine is what we've said before, and I genuinely think this is the actual reason, and it has some offshoots, is just keeping it in the public eye. It's just keeping in that news stream. They got a little bit of news out about it when it was first announced a couple months back.
We would still be talking about this game.
Don't some of the companies actually use pre-orders as like a metric for things, though? They're like, well, this game wasn't as successful because it sold plenty of copies fine, but it didn't do very well on pre-orders, and therefore...
I mean, that's part of the equation. I think
but I mean, again, to DK's point, how does this help that?
My thing to you is this game we would still be talking about this game right now if all they did was release the Batmobile stuff and said that battle mode was going to be revealed. That would be the news story. So we don't need the delay to be a news story. They just need to map out their
that may just be them
schedule.
trying to get it out prior to E3 and get it kind of buried where it's just not like it's not a surprise at E3 to find out that the date has been pushed back.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No date should be involved until they have a concrete date. That's the bottom line.
Well, no shit. But try telling
we all
that to
agree
them.
on that.
I'm just gonna. How about if I just run a lot of gaming PR companies and I change it?
Go ahead.
Hey, I'm all for
Please,
that.
Be my guest.
Okay, hashtag do it.
All right, well, to move on to talk about a game that has given us a much more out there date to begin with, we did get some news about a new entry in the Mortal Kombat franchise. Yep. Brent, you want to tell us a little bit about what we got to saw? Got to look at, got to view?
Mortal Kombat X has officially been announced with a teaser trailer from Warner Brothers and NetherRealm Studios, and it's set to arrive sometime in 2015 on Xbox One, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and, of course, PC. The debut trailer features they don't actually say this isn't like an in-engine thing, so I'm assuming this is like a target render kind of trailer. It definitely looks good. It looks CG good, but it also doesn't necessarily look beyond the realm of possibility for where the next-gen hardware could be in 2015. So I don't think that it's too far off of where the game may actually be. We see Sub-Zero and Scorpion duking it out in a forest. A lot of staples from the Mortal Kombat system are there. We've got you got the X-ray shots, you got the environment stuff, you got weapons, fatalities, etc., etc. We've got a quote here from Ed Boon talking about how, quote, Mortal Kombat has always been about over-the-top, visceral fighting, and with Mortal Kombat X, we wanted to utilize the power of new-gen consoles to give players our most intense game yet. The team has worked hard to make sure Mortal Kombat 10, just for variety, delivers everything fans expect, along with new characters, new game modes, and an all-new graphics engine. The game is going to feature the ability for players to choose between multiple variants of each character, which will impact strategy and fighting style. Players will be able to step into an original story showcasing some of the game's most prolific characters, including the aforementioned Scorpion and Sub-Zero. What do you guys think? I was a fan of the last Mortal Kombat game. Tony, I know that you weren't. I dug the story mode. I think you were pretty disappointed with it.
I wasn't disappointed with that. It wasn't as good as I had hoped for. I thought the gameplay was a little sluggish.
Well, where are we with this one? Where are we with Mortal Kombat 10 or whatever?
I think the thing that was, two things. I like this idea. They're talking about a new fully connected experience that puts players in a persistent online contest where every fight matters in a global battle for supremacy. That sounds intriguing. I'd be interested to hear what that's all about.
That means leaderboards.
Yeah, I know. That's what you would think, right? But if they're calling it out in their thing, it's got to maybe have some bigger
they wouldn't lie
implementation.
to us.
Yeah, I mean,
they wouldn't
like saying
if
they're putting out a release date, that means that they're going to make that release date.
As far as the trailer goes, I found myself in an interesting position watching it. I was like, what am I looking at? Is this game? Is this next?
Is this
gen
supposed to
gameplay?
be the game?
Is this actual? No, that scene right there looks too good. No, that one looks like it could actually be gameplay, and I didn't know. But here's the deal: it's a cross-platform, cross-generational game. So like. To me, that immediately detracts because they're not gonna make something like if this was just on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and they showed that trailer, my hopes would be a lot higher that the game would look like that and play like that.
Well, and if it was coming out like this year, it would be a little more understandable. Like they're still sort of playing, but I mean by next year, I really hope that we're starting to get some more dedicated next-gen games.
You know what? Exactly. I just realized that's what's going to... Okay, you remember how like last year at E3, the whole thing was like, okay, yeah, it looks great, but it's not 1080p, 60 frames a second. That's going to be the gag this year is, okay, it looks great, but it's not... It's still on last-gen platforms, therefore it sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of I'm agree with both of you. Like when I watched the trailer, I was like, hey, this is kind of neat. I believe that it is like what Brent said, sort of a target render. I don't think that is exactly what the game is going to end up looking like, but I think it's not all that. It's going to look all that different from it. Yeah. Because it's obviously an evolution of 9. The last Mortal Kombat. Just with more detail and whatever. But I don't know. I got to be honest. Like the last Mortal Kombat, I was super super excited for. There's something about the gameplay it just didn't grab me like some of the old Mortal Kombat. So I don't know. I've got to see more from this. I'm hoping maybe at E3, since they're dropping this trailer now, I'm hoping it's not, this is the trailer and this is what you'll see a little bit more, during E3. I'm hoping we actually maybe get to see some gameplay because I remember when we were at E3 a few years back and we got to see the initial footage of the last Mortal Kombat, and I was fucking giddy.
We were freaking out.
Just looked amazing, and I don't think that the game was bad. Like you were sort of saying that you thought I thought it was bad. I didn't think it was bad at all. I don't know. It wasn't the fighting wasn't as kinetic as I was hoping it would be.
I got you.
And I hope it has no connection to Kinect this time around either. So, but anyway, I am kind of thinking that the trailer was interesting. I hope that they sort of, I hope they get a little, I don't know, interesting with it. Like, I hope it's not just a better looking version with a few tweaks here or there of the last game. Like, I hope they really do something different. I'm with DK on the fact that I do kind of believe that it's probably going to be leaderboards, but I'm really hoping that it's not. I'm hoping it's something a little bit more in like an open world. The battles you have genuinely matter. How they do that, I don't know, but that's what we fucking pay them for.
They're going to have an ongoing story on the website, maybe release something, or like, the more Scorpion is successful, the more prominent. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, just to go to, if we're just going to shoot pie in the sky on this, what about the
We're going to decapitate pie in the sky. It's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, exactly. What about and then spike its face to a tree?
Yummy.
What about the thing you were talking about a couple weeks, Tony? They've done like these Mortal Kombat shorts. A couple years ago, Michael J. White was in. A couple of recognizable actors. Did those Mortal Kombat shorts. Think about something like that. Think about like a series, like a web-based series that follows the trends in the leaderboard. So as like more people are playing Scorpion becomes more prominent in the show. More people win with a certain character, lose with a certain character. Like I love the idea of that, but I mean, as you see, like the hugest of companies like Microsoft is I think sort of struggling to figure out how to tie like Halo, huge production Halo games into like into the TV shows and stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that I really. Not saying like I don't think that's awesome. I think what, unfortunately, we're talking all these cool ideas. I think unfortunately it's going to be a leaderboard. You're going to see like, hey, Scorpion is the third most popular character chosen. Isn't that neat?
Yeah. Why don't you guys just come out to Denver and we'll smoke out and then figure out what the next Mortal Kombat is going to be. All
right. Well, this next story I'm actually pretty excited about. After the sell-off of all of THQ's properties, there were a lot of different IPs that went lots of different ways, but the Homefront IP went to the guys over at Crytek, the guys behind Far Cry, and we got a little bit of information what they're doing with it. DK, what have they announced?
Somebody called Charlie Day because apparently it's not always sunny in Philadelphia. It looks like Homefront: The Revolution, which will take place in the city of brotherly love, is going to be coming to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. That means it's just a current gen exclusive.
Sweet.
Which gets me excited.
Yeah.
And we saw the debut trailer this past week for Homefront: The Revolution. We do not have a release date. We know it's going to be at E3. They're going to be showing gameplay at E3. But what we need to know about the game, like I said, is that, basically Philadelphia is in a police state after being brought to its knees by the Korean People's Army. Got to watch out for those guys.
North Korean.
Yeah. There's surveillance drones, armored patrols, things that we saw in the video. Players are going to have to rely on guerrilla warfare tactics, things like, ambushing, infiltrating these enemy territories, hit and run tactics, unscripted firefights. There's also going to be a co-op gameplay mode where you can form your own resistance and become renowned as the heroes of the revolution. I think it sounds pretty interesting. The trailer, tried to show just that, these opposition forces up against this big army. I don't know exactly how that will play out. Crytek, I think Crytek on a technical level did a really good job with Rise, which was an Xbox One exclusive. So I'm interested to see what will happen with Homefront: The Revolution in terms of both story, but also gameplay mechanics. They talk about, this big sprawling open world city, and all these, these revolutionaries building improvised homebrew weapons and things like that. So if crafting is a part of it, I don't know. But I think it's definitely something to put on the radar, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about it at E3.
I also remain optimistic about it. I didn't get into the multiplayer of the first Homeland. I just played the single-player campaign,
Homefront.
which was, Homefront, which was awful. And I remain very, very optimistic that they can take what was a good idea and a good concept and maybe build a good single-player game out of it. I like the idea of the game being open world. I'm also intrigued by the co-op that they talk about you forming basically your own resistance cell, and you and up to 4 friends, working together to accomplish, various milestones for the resistance. And the way that could work, both just game mechanics, playing with friends, I think it'd be really cool. But I also am very interested in the idea of how they might be able to do something like a think about like a Grand Theft Auto 5 multiplayer paradigm, where you're playing co-op with friends in a game world where there are other people playing co-op with their friends. I don't know that the game's going to have that. Bear in mind that what I'm saying here is just speculation. But
you got a lot of ideas today.
I do. Well, this is what happens when I get murderously angry about my favorite game of the year being delayed. But my point, though, is that there's some interesting potential for that. Even if it is just kind of leaderboard stuff. Think about the way that could be presented, though. Like that you've got some other friends who are in a different cell in another part of the city, and look, they've managed to take over 3 sectors and they've captured X number of enemy checkpoints, and they've captured some enemy weapons and vehicles and things like that. There's some neat ways that you could just present what ultimately would just kind of be leaderboards, but there's some cool ways that you could go about presenting that data within the world to have it be like a cohesive and immersive experience.
I agree. I think it's a very cool concept. Unfortunately, I think this can be a much more kind of
straightforward
standard. Yeah, but the thing with Homefront was, and I think like you said, Brandon, I think it had an interesting concept.
Yeah,
I think that there were some things that they just didn't quite pull off in the first one. But of all the THQ properties, it was actually one of the ones I was kind of the most excited to see someone pick up, and I was really kind of excited to see that it was Crytek, because to be honest with you, Far Cry has always been one of those games where the gameplay was really fun, and it was technically very impressive, but you're always like fighting in jungles and fighting in, I wanted to see them do something in more of a, like a city type scape, in yeah, exactly. In Crysis 3, they sort of did that a little bit, but it still was like everything was overgrown, everything was, whatever. I like the idea of sort of seeing what they'll do in a sort of more, I guess, a little more standard, version of what you see in a lot of other shooters. And the multiplayer on the last one was actually pretty cool. They had some pretty cool some of the weapons and the way they did perks and stuff like that, and the way you built up points in multiplayer was actually quite fun. So I actually think that this could be could be a pretty cool game for them, and maybe it could be another one. When you think of Crysis, you think of Far Cry, and maybe this can kind of be a second tier to their IPs if it comes out and is impressive. So
yes,
we'll hopefully see a little bit more of it from E3 here in short period of time. All right, so last but not least, this week we got some good news for Ubisoft.
Yeah,
they set a couple of pretty big records here with Watch Dogs this past week. Brent, how many did they sell?
4 million copies in its first week of release, which is an interesting counterpoint to what you were saying about the Arkham Knight delay. Apparently, it just doesn't matter. Apparently, you can delay the game, and as long as you deliver the goods, people will still come out and support
those
the release.
4 million people don't even have to be playing the game to have already gotten their money. That's even better.
It turns out to be a good thing for them. What we know from Ubisoft is that Watch Dogs is, quote, the best-selling new IP at launch across the entire video game industry, close quote. Ubisoft is obviously very, very proud of this achievement, and the game is supposedly still going to be heading to Wii U later this year. So if you're not on PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, or PC, but you are on Wii U, then don't think for a second that they're not going to take your money too, because that shit will happen. I have been desperately trying to play Watch Dogs, but unfortunately, I am a stupid bastard and bought it on PC, and I'm one of those people that is basically unable to play it on PC at the moment. It is running
unplayable
so horribly. Yeah, I mean, it's just like it dips down, and like I've got everything turned like way down. I've got the textures turned down. I've got everything.
And you
turned
have a
down.
Decent gaming system.
I'm very confident in saying that mine is, a mid-range gaming rig. I ought to be able to run the game.
Why don't you bring it back and get it on a console?
I'm really thinking about it. I think I'm going to get on the horn with Ubisoft customer service this week, and I want to say I want you to deactivate this game in Uplay, and I want you to give me a voucher code to get it on the PSN store, and I'll just play it on PlayStation 4. Yeah. I don't know if they'll do it, but I
doubt you'll say it that nicely.
I'm going to try to do it. No, I'll be nice to the person I'm talking with on the phone. It's not their fault, unless I find out it is their fault. In which case, look the fuck out.
They're like, oh, it's good that you called. I'm the guy that nerfed the PC version and made
exactly
it unplayable.
Right.
It's a good thing you're talking to me.
I am. I'm really glad to talk to you. What's your address?
What's interesting about this is the validation of Watch Dogs as a new IP now. They say here that Watch Dogs brand has a very promising future. Obviously, 4 million sales right out of the gate, and so I think critical acclaim for the game has been good. It's not like, oh my god, this is the next big thing, but a lot of people like it. Several people have noted its flaws, but on the whole, I think most reviewers are recommending it. So what will be interesting to see is how this franchise progresses from here. You could bet on a bunch of DLC for this particular title, but where Watch Dogs goes, and such a big concept with like all these things, like it's really hard to look at Watch Dogs and then immediately envision how to make it better. Like when you played Batman, the original Batman, or Batman Arkham, Batman Arkham Asylum or Batman Arkham City, you can understand bigger, more villains. Hey, we haven't had the Batmobile yet. There's room for it to grow. It's like, what do you do with Watch Dogs? So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. If it'll stay in Chicago, they went through a lot of work to represent or reproduce a version of Chicago to fit into their game. I wonder if they would do that again in a New York City or somewhere where it would make sense. But that's to me what's really interesting about this, the validation of this as a brand new IP that we could look forward to hearing about for years and years to come now from Ubisoft.
Yeah, when they do talk about it's a new breakout IP. I mean, obviously for this title, it definitely is. But I do think that there's actually been a decent amount of sort of criticism on some of the choice, like control choices, like the way you control the car and stuff like that, and just some gameplay elements. I do really wonder how well the next Watch Dogs does. You know what I mean? Like, it's, to me, until the first sequel comes out, can you you genuinely say that it's a new breakout IP? I mean, the first game obviously did well, but lots of first games did fine. It's can they continue on and make a second, third, fourth, fifth game? Speaking on the point of like what could they do next, I think honestly that the next thing that they need to do, because if they do it in any other city, you're essentially just doing. I mean, they could always have new stories and new abilities that you can do, but you're doing it just in another city. I think they ought to like look at the concept of where would being able to hack devices and get information on people, where would that really play in a different way? What about DC? Mm-hmm. What about like having a political thriller?
That's a good idea.
Cool. Where you kind of go where you're like using information you got off people's phones to bribe them or get them to make changes.
It certainly ramps up the drama.
Or like Fort Lauderdale, you could just hack away into like nursing homes.
Yeah, and which would be
that's Ocala.
Fun.
I don't know my way around Florida.
The Villages is in Ocala, I think.
You haven't looked into nursing homes yet?
No, I'm getting close though. Let me tell you.
All right, guys, here we are in the main topic this week. And, of course, with next week, we've got E3 coming up. And, that's the biggest week in gaming, or at least used to be. Used to have a lot of info coming out there. Of course, it's getting spread out more and more and more. But still, I'm sure we're going to have some huge announcements come out from all the big players. And so we wanted to look at some of our hopes and fears around E3. Some of the things that
I thought we were going to be doing E3 smokes and beers.
No.
That's after E3.
You hear what you want to hear.
I got to re-prepare this topic then, because I have no idea what to say now.
But anyway, we just want to kind of look at, for E3, what are some of our biggest hopes? What are the things that we really want to see? Maybe not expect to see per se, but just want to see, and we think that would be the best news for whoever it is. Mm-hmm. And some of our fears, like the things that we're genuinely kind of afraid, like, I think this is probably going to happen, and I'm not really looking forward to it. So, Brent, you want to kind of take us down and get us started here?
Absolutely. So, obviously, by the time you hear this, E3 will be a scant 4 days away, or at least the press conferences will be a scant 4 days away, and then
and
E3
I will be
starting.
scantily clad.
Ah, yeah.
I don't know why. It just fits. So I said.
That's awesome. I'm really glad you know that. Anyway. But the point is that E3 is finally here, and all the speculation and all the rumor and all of the anticipation for the show is going to culminate in finally discovering what the big three in hardware and all of the software publishers and individual developers who are going to be at the show have got for us. And there's going to no doubt be a flood of information. There's going to be follow-ups on games that we're looking forward to. There's going to be new titles announced. There's going to be some surprises, we hope. And then there's always, as always, there's going to be that eternal struggle to have the best stage show between Sony and Microsoft. So what we're going to do right now is we're just going to go through and we're going to talk about the things that we hope that we're going to see about the show, or we're going to see at the show, pardon me, and then also the things that we fear we may end up seeing at the show as well. So, DK, we're going to pass the mic to you first. Why don't you start off with one of your hopes? What's one of the things that you really want to see come out of the E3 2014?
There's obviously so much to look forward to, and you kind of know what to expect. We've heard from people, they're saying, hey, we're going to see a gameplay reveal. We're going to see this. We're going to see more on the battle mode from Batman. We'll see Homefront, whatever. But I think the thing for me personally is, we have talked about kind of the prominence of role-playing games at this year's show, and also just as we're entering the next generation. So, you've got The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, Dragon Age, Inquisition, Cyberpunk. There's several games, potentially Mass Effect. I doubt it, but potentially something from Mass Effect at E3. And for me, I really want to see and get some insight into how these games are going to be pushing the RPG genre forward. That's my big hope, because I when it comes down to it, role-playing games are probably my most favorite genre of video game. I love the immersion factor. I love the stories when they're well-crafted.
You like to role-play in real life, too.
I like to role-play in real life, just as my wife.
It's called LARP.
Yeah. But in the last generation, that was it. Like playing, the reason why I loved Mass Effect so much in this last generation was I felt like it really, truly pushed the genre forward, not just introducing a cool new franchise, but the way in which you generated expectations about your level of interaction with the characters and the world and your impact on the story. I felt like was all things that were really well put together in the Mass Effect franchise that helped move that forward. And with the new tech on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, I'm really hoping that we're starting to see the fruits of that with these games from The Witcher and Dragon Age Inquisition and whatnot. So that's my big hope, is that we get something out of E3 that says the future of this genre that I really care about is moving forward with the afforded luxuries of this next-gen technology. So that's my big hope for E3. But I don't know, what about you guys? We'll get to fears in a minute, but what are you guys hoping for?
Tony?
I'm right there with you though on what you were saying. Like, I'm not the hugest role-playing guy, but I do love seeing how the genres advance, and it would be really interesting to see. Are they just going to be sort of evolutions of what we've done, or will we see some like truly new ideas? I think one of the biggest things maybe last gen was like the whole really being able to direct your character towards maybe like a good or evil, or like you had all those choices throughout the game.
System.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. You didn't really see that before. That was a distinct change, and so it'll be kind of interesting to see where things are going next.
Which is hard for Brent because he doesn't have any morality. So
exactly. Basically, there's not a choice. Like whatever the
second playthrough was the same as the first. This is bullshit.
But myself, I'll be honest with you, less about like a single genre, more about the one company that I get so frustrated with as of late is one that I think a lot of people are frustrated with, and that's Nintendo. And the one thing, and I'll talk a little bit about something I think I have hopes for a little later, but in general, I really hope that we see some of the major IPs from Nintendo that have been absent from the Wii U, and in some cases from any Nintendo platform for a fairly significant amount of time. And that would be things like Zelda. Like, I would love for us to see a new Zelda game. Like, basically, people are wanting to see the Zelda from that demo we got for the Wii U 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And what I'm almost going to be interested to see whether we get that game, like a game based in sort of that look and that feel, or whether they'll go like something like Skyward Sword again, where it's like they know people want this like realistic, gritty, but like great lighting, this just really cool Zelda. Instead, they do something that's kind of not expected with the franchise. Yeah. So it'll be interesting for me to see that, but maybe more important than that, a franchise I'm kind of more interested in seeing, because we really haven't seen, I think, a true representation of it in a while, is Metroid. Like, I love the old school Metroid side-scrolling games. Love them. Love the Prime series. Like, it was a great way of taking that series into 3 dimensions, into kind of a first-person view. And still just be great. Like, the music in Metroid games is just amazing. The worlds you're in are just amazing. And we really haven't had. We had Other M, which was it was okay. It was pretty fun.
Was
but
that the one that Team Ninja did?
Yeah, it was the one Team Ninja did. Yeah, and it was kind of like a 2.5D, sort of mostly sort of side scrolling. But it was interesting. But it really did feel sort of to me like this, just sort of just tossing a bone, just kind of like, let's just, we don't have any plans for it right now. Does anybody else want to do it? Fine, go ahead and fucking do it. And I want to see, I'm really hoping we hear something like where we're getting a new Prime game, or hell, I would even be fine if we just heard of a new like 2D Metroid on the 3DS, like, or 2D gameplay style, maybe a 3D version. I think it's one of their most underutilized franchises. We always get a Zelda game eventually. We got a great Zelda 3DS game last year. We've had a couple of really good Zelda games on the Wii, and we got a great remake of Wind Waker, which unfortunately, Wind Waker I don't think did great on the GameCube. I mean, in terms of great, like, I don't think it sold as much as like a Mario game. And then I don't think the remake got as much attention as they were hoping for. They need they need to knock it out of the park this year. So that's what I'm sort of hoping for. Brent, what about yourself?
Well, for my own part, it's got a lot to do with Star Wars. I can't tell you what I hope to see more, whether it's gameplay from Battlefront that EA DICE is working on, or whether it is a sneak peek at the Untitled Star Wars project that Visceral Games is doing that we know that Amy Hennig is involved with. But one of those two is probably the thing that I'm most excited about seeing at the show. I mean, you could remember how exciting it was a few years ago when they were talking about Star Wars 1313. Mm-hmm. And just that idea of a next-gen Star Wars game. And, 1313 looked really good.
Oh, it just looked so awesome.
And
then got tossed to the curb so quickly.
Yeah. And so I think that, I think all of us kind of recognize that there is interest in a game like that. There's interest in a next-gen, really strong graphical, narrative-driven Star Wars game. And I hope that I don't have any illusions about Visceral resurrecting 1313. I mean, and we know now that there wasn't a lot of 1313 to have. Like, it was more an engine than anything from what we've heard since LucasArts was sold to Disney. But I don't have any illusion about 1313 making a comeback. But I think that whatever Visceral might do with the Star Wars franchise, particularly with Amy Hennig involved, I think that's something to be excited about. So I'm very, very interested in seeing that. And then the other thing, and you might laugh at me, and I'll have to laugh at myself a little bit after the thrashing I gave it last week. But one of the most anticipated things going into the show for me right now, one of the things that I desperately hope we see some live on-stage multiplayer action from is Battlefield Hardline.
What? Really?
Have you guys watched? If you guys haven't watched it, you got to go watch the quote-unquote leaked trailer, which EA totally put out themselves and have now confirmed that is actual. It's an actual internal trailer from 6 months ago. They say that's what they say that it was. Back when it was like Project Omaha internally or whatever. But anyway, Battlefield Hardline.
When it wasn't a Battlefield game at all, like it is now.
Peyton Manning was directing that one, right?
Exactly.
Omaha.
Battlefield Hardline. Looking at like the 7-minute trailer that's floating around right now. Honestly, like, this is what I said on the X Factor this week, and I'm being sincere. This is not hyperbole. This could be my favorite video game of all time. If this thing delivers everything that it says it's going to, if it's got the Visceral developed single-player campaign that plays out like episodes of a police crime drama on television, where you can go back and replay the episode and discover new things. There's investigation angles. You can go and gather clues and unlock different things. There's the intrigue, there's action, there's stealth gameplay. Kind of approach it the way that you want to. And then on top of that, you've got the DICE developed multiplayer with the car chase mode, with the bank heist mode, the hostage rescue mode, like all of that stuff. It sounds honestly like one of the most fun video games that I could potentially play. If the quality and everything is there, honestly, this is going to be a day one buy for me. And that's the first time I've ever said that about anything that had Battlefield in the title. So Battlefield Hardline is one that I am definitely hoping to see a lot more from at E3 next week.
Nice.
Yeah. What? Well, let's turn the tables then now. So these are our big hopes. What are we sort of afraid of? What are we sort of fearful is going to happen? DK, what are you kind of worried might happen?
Mine is directly in line with what your hopes were, and my number one fear is that Zelda Wii U is a no-show, and that to me is.
That's a definite fear.
It's just because, like, everything else could happen. Like, you could get a little bit of information about this. So let's see this. This is like Zelda Wii U has been number one on my most anticipated list for a long time, on Fave's list and just everywhere that I've mentioned it, because of the potential that it has. So for it not to be there is the equivalent of, like, having that one thing that you really want for Christmas, and like you get a bunch of other stuff, and you're really happy about it, and you're like very content and also like thankful for everything, but then you're kind of like, I didn't get the one thing. It's the Red Ryder BB gun, if you will, for me.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, or if Nintendo drops the ball, what it means to me is bigger than just not being able to see it. It means that Nintendo's really screwed. Like they've screwed up and they don't get it, and a big disconnect. If this game is not there, is what it means for me personally. So I don't know. That's my biggest concern going into the show, is that that's just not going to be something that we get as much out of as we were hoping going in.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, it just the same way that it's one of those things I'm most hopeful for. I mean, it is. I think it's probably a better chance, honestly, that we don't see it, or what we see is we get this sound of a sword, being pulled out and the title and nothing else, and coming 2015 or something, like some so worthless, that we shouldn't have even seen it, kind of thing. I think there's a better chance of that happening than us getting it and just being, blown away. Like, all right, that was awesome. I can't wait for it. So I'm right there with you. I gotta be honest. The thing that I'm sort of looking forward to is the last. I don't know. I feel like this last console generation to me seemed like so many things, just so many companies, so many game series, so many IPs got caught up in this just sort of doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's like I want to see consistency from a game in terms of the gameplay being consistently there, but why don't we see more? To be honest with you, new ideas, new concepts coming out. To me, that's something where something like Battlefield Hardline comes out. I'm gonna be honest with you. If they would just take Battlefield out of the name, I would be significantly more excited about it. There's something about trying to tie it to a franchise that I just don't. I think it lessens it. I think it'd be more exciting to think of, hey, we've got this new IP, Hardline, and it looks or whatever they want to call it, in the line of duty, Hardline or whatever.
Right.
They could make it this. They could make it this new thing, and it's the same way with why wouldn't we see, the games I was just talking about a minute ago, we talked about, seeing a new Metroid. I love the Prime series, and I think that if they want to just do a new Prime game, a new in the style of Prime, that'd be fine, because we haven't had a new game in so long. But this would be just as good an opportunity to do something, maybe a fairly significant change from Prime. Maybe we have a new character besides Samus. It's in that world, and maybe it's still a female, so you kind of keep that element that
Isn't
people
that what
like.
Halo is? Halo 5?
Well, I mean, to a degree, but to be honest, I think that the world that's created in Metroid is even more sort of interesting, because it's more about exploration as opposed to just shooting people, it is in Halo. So I think that this would be the time, especially with franchises that maybe we've either seen so many of the same game, just have a new change in location, or the main character change. But let's be honest, the game was played the same as the last game. This is a great time. We're at the beginning of a new console generation. Let's see some of these franchises either expand into something new, or I don't know, just come up with a fucking new franchise. Let's come up with something new that has elements of what we like about all these games we like, but is a new thing. And it seems like the game companies, especially the big three, but I really think that the third parties Ubisoft and EA and these guys, they're just as bad for look, this works, so we're not going to change anything. Right. I don't know, to me, you need to have both. You need to keep your consistent performers going, and work on new, innovative other things that could become your consistent performers 2-3 years or 2 or 3 games into their franchise. So, which apparently
is not as easy as it seems like it would be.
Well, yeah, and I don't even claim that it is easy. Matter of fact, I think that's the whole point. But rather than take chances, it feels like people are playing it a lot safer these days, and they're just kind of going. And I don't know. I feel like this is the time when you could be creating some new franchises, I think. So anyway, I hope they sort of change the status quo of the last few years, I guess, is what my fear is.
Sure.
Brent, what about yourself? What do you kind of?
I think the thing that I really fear, in brief, I'll put this up at the front.
Besides the dark.
Yeah, I am
clowns.
the dark. I fear that similar to what you're saying about status quo. I'm a little fearful that people are going to be relying too heavily on established franchises, and that there's not going to be enough focus on new IPs. That's a component of what you were just talking about, Tony, and so I kind of have that as well. Just I want to service popular franchises as well, but I also feel that we need to have innovation and new IPs and things like that, and not just do what's always worked. So I kind of share that with you.
You continue to make the Captain America movies, but you also make Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly.
I mean, why not? You can continue with successful franchises, but you also take chances on things that could become your successful. Yeah, I'm right. I'm sorry. I'm right there with you.
That is in a nutshell exactly what I feel as well. So anyway, that's one fear. But the main thing for me, and again, we talked about this a bit on the X Factor. We're talking about E3 hype fatigue. The fear that I have, especially in light of how disappointed I am trying to play Watch Dogs on the PC, what a demoralizing experience that has been. How upset I am that Arkham Knight has been delayed. I am just. I guess
found out that thing about your penis and all,
that we
all
said we weren't going to talk about.
Oh,
Jesus. I fear basically the hype outrunning the execution on what we're seeing at E3. I don't want to go into E3 and hear them announce these things and just in my mind just be saying, bullshit, nope, not going to work, nope, not going to make that release date, nope, won't look that good, nope, won't be that popular.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what I fear. I don't want to become.
And
I don't want to become Tony. I don't want to become so cynical.
I'm morphing into Tony. No, but to be honest, I mean, it's completely justified at this point. I mean,
but it's starting to.
It's starting to get justified. I mean, and that is a valid concern to be.
Oh, it's always been justified. It's just that I will say it's getting even worse. Like it really is getting to the point. Like we were talking. Brent and I were talking last night about the whole Watch Dogs thing, and it was kind of funny. I had purchased one game through Uplay once before, and it was such a bad experience. Never purchased it before, and so when we were talking about it, he said, "Yeah, I picked it up on the PC." And in the back of my head, I didn't say it out loud, but I was just like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, but it's one of those things, like, until you've had that bad experience, you just,
that's exactly right.
You take for granted, you give somebody $60 and they'll give you a fucking working game. Like,
You're
it's
exactly
just,
right.
And we are in this time now where shit just does not work like it should for what for the expectation they give you and for what you have of that. Like, you expect that it should work better. And frankly, they tell you that it's going to do this thing, and when it doesn't, there's really no repercussions. There's no. It's like
that's the disappointing thing.
It is. It's very disappointing. But I mean, like you were saying, I mean, in a sense, sometimes you got to burn your hand on the stove before you understand how much you don't want to burn your hand on the stove. And
which is why I always burn my kids' hands on the stove on their 7th birthday. It's just kind of like
you just got to get them started on the right path.
It's just part of being a good parent. But that is it in a nutshell. That is it in a nutshell right there. Is that I just I find myself going into this year's E3 not as excited as I have been in past years, and more to the point, going in just kind of having this sense of dread about, all right, what bullshit are you going to try to pass off on us now?
Yeah, I think that's completely valid. And it's one of those things where this is the time where we should be seeing stuff that we're excited about for the next year. Well, frankly, anymore it's like this is stuff that we're excited for year after next, and it keeps getting like further and further off. Like the stuff we see nowadays is further and further off. It's frankly, and sometimes like well before we really have a real good concept of what what we're getting and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know, it's a different time. Like it's just, expectations are just very differently managed these days.
As in they're not.
Yeah. All right, guys, well, we're coming up on the end of this week's Skirmish, but first we have our Battle Cries of the week. And I'm going to start off with my battle cry. Another thing sort of Nintendo related. I said I'd kind of mention it later. This was also kind of part of my hopes for Nintendo. So last night, or as of recording this, so it's been a couple of days now, Nintendo released an update for the Wii U, and it's one of the first times I can genuinely say like the update made a significant feel change to the system. Like every update up to this point, that they said that there were improvements here, or speed ups and that sort of stuff, and it never really felt like it had improved anything. This one changed pretty drastically. You've got the quick launch screen now, which you get to much faster. If you're not into like the Miiverse and some of the other things that Nintendo is really wanting to be bigger than, unfortunately, I think that they are, and you just want to play games on your system, this is like a great update. This is something a lot of people have been asking for. Like, I just want to get in and get to my game more quickly, and this addresses that. It fixes a lot of little other problems in there, but the thing is, it does sort of feel like the first update in which Nintendo is genuinely addressing concerns their users have brought to them.
Right.
And I guess I'm putting this out there is I really hope, I will be honest, I don't necessarily think that it is, but I hope it is. And I think it could be if Nintendo would just listen to themselves, listen to their users. This could be the start of their Xbox One-like turnaround.
They're 360.
Right.
They're 360.
Oh, no, they're 180.
The one thing, yeah, don't do a 360. That would be useless.
If I did a 360, I'd turn around and end up right back where I started.
but just to wrap it up real quick, like the idea though is that I really genuinely give Microsoft a lot of credit for making as major changes as they made, as quickly as they made them, as early in the process as they did. I mean, you really can't get around that. Like I'm not necessarily the biggest Microsoft fan, to be honest. Like the Xbox has always sort of been the last of my systems that I'm sort of the most excited about in general, just because I feel like they have the most average set of games. Like their first parties and stuff are just not stuff that speaks to me. But I will say I was for everything they sort of said they wanted to do this console generation last year, and to kind of get such sort of negative feedback on it, they took that to heart. Now, whether they took it to heart because they're like, look, we're going to lose our asses and we need to change, or whether they said, look, we need to make changes that are just better for the end user. Why they came to the decision really almost doesn't matter, because they get you to the same point, which is making good choices for the future of their platform. And they made sweeping big changes, and they did them quickly. Nintendo needs to do that.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not one of these people that thinks like that if Nintendo doesn't hit it out of the park this year, that they're done. I mean, Nintendo is going to be around for quite a few more years, no matter what. But I do think that this is one of those times where, legitimately, I think they could be back up on top almost if they just made certain changes. And so, I think this could be the beginning of it. I think this could be the beginning of it, and hopefully, maybe it will be. We'll have to wait and see. Brent, what about yourself? What is your battle cry this week?
My battle cry this week goes out to some statements that were made last month now, back in May, by Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick. And
good old
Strauss was talking about Take-Two and the games that they perceive to be permanent franchises. Games that will see continuous iteration over the years. Certainly, he acknowledges Grand Theft Auto is one of those titles, but one that I always thought should be, and am very happy to hear that Take-Two agrees with me, is Red Dead Redemption. He says, quote, I pretty much know the ones that I can assure you are permanent. It's obvious that GTA is a permanent franchise as long as we keep delivering this incredible quality. It seems quite obvious that Red Dead is a permanent franchise, again with the same caveat. So, The big thing for me here, as you guys know, Red Dead Redemption, currently my favorite game of all time, a really, really amazing, transcending title. And if this statement is to be believed, then that means that already, possibly, or if not, at some point in the future, we're going to see another installment in the Red Dead series, and I am very, very excited to find out what that is. And
E3.
Yeah.
I can pretty much guarantee you it won't happen at E3.
Not going to happen at E3. I can totally be realistic about this one. We're not going to hear about this anytime soon, would be my guess. But
I didn't say this year's E3.
But anyway, so I just I wanted my battle cry to go out to this week to just kind of remind everybody that Red Dead Redemption, for me, was basically the game of last generation, and I'm really anxious to see them push forward with that and do another installment in this generation. They can take their time with it. They can get it right. That's totally cool with me. But I do want to see more Red Dead games, and it looks like we're going to have them.
You're going to get them.
Yep. Very cool. Very cool. DK, what about yourself?
You and I are actually a lot on the same page this week in the Nintendo talk, because my battle cry goes out to Mario Kart 8, selling 1.2 million units in its first weekend, single-handedly making the Wii U relevant. I'm not sure on the math, but that's pretty much something like 1/6 of the install base for the Wii U. Like,
It really is, and in what, 3 days? Yeah,
exactly. So it just shows you. To one of the things you said, which was going to be the core of my battle cry, is that if Nintendo could just release big games on this system, that it could actually, you took the words right out of my mouth, do a complete pivot and become one of the top systems right now. If they have the great games, that's all they need to do it. Now, as it pertains to Mario Kart, the franchise has broken the 100 million units sold across all the games in that series, including Mario Kart 64, all the great games. So congratulations to Mario Kart as a franchise. I think provided so much, and to me, that's just one of the games that is just great about gaming, right? It's an experience you can't have in any other way, and it's completely fun. It's something that, I could sit down with my kids and my wife and play. I could play with you guys. I could play competitively with other people over beer, sit around, whatever. It doesn't matter who you're playing it with. It's nearly impossible to play Mario Kart and not have a good time. So congratulations to them, and I hope that it does, as you were saying with the system updates, mark a notable kind of resurgence for Nintendo. Whether it's on the Wii U or what else, just get your formula down. Give us some great games. We're just a week away. Hopefully we'll see more stuff and promise and come out of E3 knowing that Nintendo is going to return to its glory days. Not that I'm a fanboy, but just that I think it's good for the industry and it's healthy for the industry to have Nintendo be in that position.
Yeah, I mean that
is kind of the definition of a fanboy, though. Just so
well, no, a fanboy is expecting it no matter what.
Is saying it's great when it's not great, or sticking, like I've called them out on a lot of stuff too. But I just think I am a fan of Nintendo stuff, and Nintendo has the opportunity to be the front and center home console in my house, considering the layout of, I've got 3 kids and my wife, and we would love to sit around and do some fun stuff together, but Nintendo hasn't really given us great stuff to do.
You're exactly right. Well, so I was just thinking about this day because part of my battle cry was going to be that, but you'd already had it in the list. I was going to talk about those are great numbers. They're imagine if they had a bigger install base on the Wii U, what the numbers would have been. And I tell you, there's a lot of people that I read about this weekend that were seriously considering buying Wii U's
just for Mario
just
Kart.
to buy this game.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we're talking about Mario
honestly,
Kart. You can
if
play
money
it
was
on
no object. If I just had money coming out my ears and it just didn't matter for me to spend a few $100, I would have.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, Mario Kart, you can essentially play Mario Kart on anything. Even if you don't play Mario Kart specifically, you can play the same kind of game. It's just one of those things where it's just this perfect sort of mix, the polish and everything they've got of a great game. Imagine, though, so we know this year we've got Mario Kart now, we've got Super Smash Brothers coming out, you've already got great 2D and 3D Mario games available for the platform. The platform is now starting to actually be something that, what, if I bought one, now there's a decent library.
Yeah. Right.
Now you announce a Zelda game coming for it. You announce a Metroid game for it. They could easily, in one press conference, could really turn the tide.
Yes.
Now, the problem is, will they do it? And I'm worried that they won't. That's the thing. It's just so it seems so easy. And granted, we are armchair quarterbacking, and I know that some of the stuff that we think is easy maybe isn't as easy as we think it is. But I also think a lot of the shit that they decide to do is just someone there is just doesn't have their finger on the pulse. I mean, there's so many things that they do wrong. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it is really, really cool. I'll be honest with you. I couldn't find a copy of it this weekend. I didn't pre-order it.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. I went to Target and to Best Buy, and both of them were sold out. Now, granted, I don't know how many
next?
copies
Toys R Us? I
didn't go to Toys R Us.
Oh, you should.
I actually, I got to be honest. After I did finally see the box, because I did see it online, it pissed me off. It's the fucking red box. It's like the most gaudy, ugly-looking thing they could have done. But
all they had to do was change the label. If the label had a red background behind the Wii U sticker, it'd look boss.
If they did a red 8 and a red label, it would have looked awesome. But whatever. But that's one of those things. Nintendo,
Wait, and
I think,
I'm the fanboy?
You're the fanboy of like other things, yeah.
I'm just joking.
I mean, let's be honest. We all have our things.
Yes,
but yeah, I'm totally a fan of Nintendo. Although I think I have been just as critical of the stupid things they've done. I mean, it pisses me off that they don't make what I see as easy calls on a lot of things.
Right.
Totally.
Anyway, let's move on to our member battle cry, and I think Brent is going to use his mouth to speak words that are from this person that sent this in.
For better or worse, the member battle cry is mine, and it comes from Lucius Silver, who says, "Hello, gents. Great show.
Hello.
I don't expect this E3 to be different from previous ones in terms of new announcements. The so-called next gen has brought but a few IPs to the table.
He's obviously British, so...
with companies betting instead on tried and true franchises. Still, I would like to see new games from both first and third-party studios. Activision shouldn't step outside its comfort zone, with Call of Duty and Destiny taking center stage. A new Tony Hawk game could be announced, and I would like to see something from Crash Bandicoot as well. Aside from Battlefield, I expect EA to show something Star Wars related. My great wish is the revival of 1313. Let me know how that works out for you, man.
Yeah.
As far as Ubisoft goes, the major reveals of the last two E3s have come from them. Watch Dogs and The Division, I agree. Will they do it again? Nevertheless, Assassin's Creed and Far Cry are guaranteed to show. I'm hoping for a new Prince of Persia. So definitely touching on some similar things to what we were talking about. I agree that all eyes are probably going to be on Ubisoft to see if can they get the Triple Crown? Can they steal E3 yet again with some big reveal of some game that is going to get delayed by 18 months or more? What do you guys think?
Well, I think based on his
don't try to do British accent.
I think you've gone Barney.
Don't do it.
I think you've gone Barney. I think that the next generation...
Mary Poppins called. They want their Dick Van Dyke accent back.
They're going to be ace, mates. It's tea time.
Now you're just saying things. Now you're not even trying to string them together into a sentence.
Yeah, I am.
No, I mean, hey, it's one of those things. I think I'll be honest with you. It would not make any of us any happier than every single one of these companies announcing the best lineup they've ever had. I mean, that's the thing.
We don't want them to fail.
We never go into this.
That's the difference between us and and that's the difference between being pessimistic or skeptical and cynical.
Yeah. Like the one thing that frustrates me is, like, for instance, the third party, trailers is they're always, because they're third parties, they're going to be multi-platform. And so a lot of times it's kind of like whatever they show, it's slightly harder for me to get excited about, because I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be able to play that on anything. I really like seeing the first parties, because that's usually where you sort of see you see these characters and stuff that are exclusive to them, and you sort of see the thing that, hey, I'm glad I have my Xbox One, because I'll be the only that'll be the only platform I can play X game on, and I think that's what's really interesting. But yeah, I think if we saw some great stuff from The Division and it was coming out later this year, that'd be great. But
not happening.
It's not. So I mean, in a way, I'm like, that's cool, and I can't wait to play it next year. What are you giving me this year? That's sort of what gets frustrating.
Well, why don't you tell everybody what we're going to do next week?
Absolutely. So next week on EpicBattleAxe.com, the name of the game is E3 Top 3. We are going to be doing 2 days of wrap-up coverage on the press conferences, and then the first day of the actual Entertainment Expo itself. And we're going to be laying out our top 3. Each of us, Tony, Lauren, myself, of course, Daniel will be there on the ground with his hair in front of the cameras where it belongs.
E3 Top 3 Daniel free.
Well played. But anyway, the long and short of it is that Tony, Lauren, and myself, we're all going to be, during those wrap-up shows, we're going to be looking for our top 3. The top 3 things that that came out of the Microsoft press conference, the EA press conference, etc. We want the exact same thing for you. We're going to be setting up a blog post on epicbattleaxe.com. I know I said status updates on the Axe Factor. Ignore that. This is the current information. That is the old information. It is now out of date.
That's so one day ago.
It really is. And we're going to be setting up a blog post on epicbattleaxe.com so that you can let us know what you think about the press conferences as they're going on. So you can give us your top 3 picks from each of the big reveals from the news on the first day of E3. And during the show, we're going to be selecting 3 of your picks to include in that, so that we make sure and include the Epic Battle Axe community and what you guys care about, what you guys are excited about coming out of the press conferences and day 1 of E3 2014. So keep an eye out for that next week, the E3 top 3 on epicbattleaxe.com.
Yes, and I do want to remind everyone, too, there's a couple of days left to rank your most anticipated games of E3 on Faves List. There's almost 600 people so far, including the likes of Cliff Blazinski and Steven Totillo from Kotaku, of course, the 3 of us, several other industry folk, our old friend Jess Condit from Joystick, who have ranked their favorite games. Right now, The Witcher 3 is number 1. Batman Arkham Knight is high up there, as well as Uncharted 4. So it's a really interesting list, and if you want to impact it before the end of it on Tuesday, you still have a couple days to do that, and then it's switching over to the favorite games of E3, so you'll have an opportunity to do that, and we'll, of course, as Epic Battle Axe, if you're following Epic Battle Axe on Faves, be able to see your rankings from the perspective of our followers, which is cool. But lots of intriguing data out there, and it looks like Mass Effect is almost number 1, which I'm hoping that they bend to the pressure and say, well, you know what, we've got to show something, so let's do it.
All right. Well, so
let me know how that works out.
Oh, and then the week after that, we're not going to have a show, right?
That's correct. We'll be off the week after E3. Yeah. We'll remind you guys of that next week in case you forget, but that is correct. We will have no shows, no X Factor, no Epic Battle Cry the week following E3. We're gonna take a week off and just let's
be honest, there's not going to be anything going on the week after E3 probably anyway. That's true. You won't really be missing anything.
Yeah.
All right, well, that is going to do it for this week's Skirmish. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week, and please join us once again next week when we will be cleaving the fat from the gaming stories of E3. For Daniel Kaiser and Brent Adams, I am your host, Tony Grice, and remember, cry havoc.
That's a cod swallow.
Don't cry over spilt milk. Right. Unless that milk has spilled on the dev station that's producing the next Star Wars Battlefront game.
In that case, cry me a river.
In that case, fucking fix it. Don't sit there and be useless. Work on that shit. Blimey.
Bob's your uncle.
Jesus. Oh, Lord.
Can we end now, please?
Yes.